Hey there, Aiden. My name is Joe, and I don't know that I've ever responded to a video of yours before, with a video response. I know I've given you text responses before, but I've been watching your videos for at least a year, and I actually connected to you on your CNN link when Chaz Bono came out. You were like the very first trans guy I ever saw on YouTube, and that started a series of events that really got me to the place that I'm at now in my life. And I guess I have you to thank for it in some weird, twisted way. And basically, I don't know how to sum this up, like in a short way, but basically I'll just say, hey, my name is Joe. I guess I identify as genderqueer, or gender variant was the word I heard you use in your last video. I like that one a lot too. Obviously, biologically, genetically female, born in this body. No real desire to change it. I don't want to be a man, but I hate being a woman. And for many, many years, I identified pretty exclusively as an angry feminist. And I think it's funny because this is a response to your last video, which was about bravery. Your video was just on bravery, and how you used to feel quite strongly and passionately about things, but now that you live in a man's body and are not, you don't need to be as out there in your opinions because you pass quite nicely and you live a pretty charmed life in comparison to the lesbian you used to be, or whatever, if I'm getting it correctly. So, to use myself as an example, just recently, I would say within the last 6 months, a paradigm shift occurred in my life, where I suddenly didn't feel the need to be an angry feminist anymore because I was a perfectly normal genderqueer. Instead of being an angry woman, because I'm not a woman, I can be just a normal genderqueer, which is just the strangest thing. I don't even know how to put it into words. And I actually substituted, just for effect, the word Filipino for genderqueer. Because I was talking to my massage therapist the other day, and we somehow got on the topic of trans folk. And I was explaining what genderqueer was to her, and I said, if you were to tell me Filipino people like to eat a certain thing, or typically Filipino people speak, or emphatically stress these words in their vocabulary, and I wouldn't even bat an eye. I would just go, okay, well that's what Filipino people do, or whatever ethnicity. Or when you use the word woman and you say women typically, stay at home with kids, get married, work for less salary than men, don't mind doing their husband's dishes and laundry, I start to get angry because I always thought you're implying me as a woman likes to falls into these preconceived categories. So I used to get furious. And now, I don't get furious anymore because it doesn't apply to me. And it's a very strange sense of calm. It's a very strange sense of calm that I don't know that I've ever experienced in my 37 years in this body. For the first time in my life, I don't feel the need to fight. I don't feel the need to argue. All my life, I felt the need to argue. Whenever blanket statements were made about women or men or gender in general, I felt the need to speak up and say something that's not true because it doesn't apply to me and I'm a woman, so blah, 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 blah. And then people would say, well, you're just weird, or, you're probably lesbian and you don't even know. Of course, confusing sexuality with gender and so forth. But a lot of people just wonder why I was so angry. And I never wondered why I was so angry. I just knew I was angry. And now I'm not anymore. And it kind of made me think, your video tonight made me think about bravery, because I used to consider myself a bit of, confrontational. I was brave in that sense that I was confrontational about the things I believed in strongly. And I would always speak up, always. If somebody had something to say, I would always speak up, to prove my point or to make a statement. And now I still speak up, but in a gentler tone, maybe. Or I don't always feel the need to speak up, especially now when people make blanket statements about women, or I don't know how to describe it. It's a sense of peace. It's a sense of calm that I've never quite experienced. So, do I consider myself less brave? Like you, I like being that activist spirit. I love being the voice in a sea of silence. I've always loved being that person, and I've always prided myself on being that person. In fact, I live in Canada, in Ontario, and I ran in 2 federal and 1 provincial elections as the Green Party candidate. I was politically inclined because I thought I could change the world, and I meant to take a stand and voice my opinion. I always have a very strong opinion about everything. In fact, as a result of those elections, I wound up being a talking head on one of our local TV shows here called The Opinionators, and my mother likes to continuously remind me that I'm an opinionator. I have opinions about everything. But I'm marveling at these last few months and this general lack of, it's not that I have a lack of opinion, it's just that my opinions about Judaism, for example, I'm not Jewish, are just, what I've read or what it just is what it is. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other about, the types of people who like to do interior decoration. I have no opinion about those people. Those people aren't me. I'm not one of them. I don't really know. So now this whole gender, not argument, but gender issues have taken a back seat in my life. I still feel quite strongly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was just on the phone tonight with I've reacquainted with an old elementary school friend of mine who's a stay-at-home mom whose husband works and she doesn't, and she does his laundry. And we were just talking, and she was kind of laughing at me. She's like, "Oh, Joey, you're so," she still calls me Joanne, my birth name, and she was saying something like, "You're so intense." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I am what I am. I don't deny it, and I don't have any problems with the person I am. I like the person I am. I'm glad to be rid of the anger, and I'm glad that there seems to be just, like I said, a calm about myself that I hadn't ever expected to experience in this lifetime. And I just wanted to equate it with bravery and how I still feel like I can change the world. I still feel like my voice will be heard, but it'll be a calm voice, not an angry voice, maybe. I will speak through my actions, through my calm sense of who I am. I've always felt this way, for instance, about the fact that I don't shave or that I don't wear makeup. I've always believed, I don't have problems with that. I don't think people, I think when people make a comment or have a preconceived notion about me when they see my hairy legs or hairy pits, I've always thought, you know what, I'm going to stand up as an example, a silent example of what is possible. It's possible to be born in a woman's body, to have body hair, this face, and this nose, and no makeup, and not think there's anything wrong with it. It's possible to be happy in your own skin and to be happy with the way you are. And I wanted to serve as an example to young girls or women who had body issues or self-esteem issues with regards to the way they looked. I always felt strongly about that I was going to serve as a silent example. And I guess I feel like I can sort of do that in more ways than one. Like now with more gender issues, I don't have to constantly be fighting about it. I can serve as a silent example of what is possible when you don't participate in the gender binary. And I'm pretty excited about that. So thanks for all your videos. I've always loved your videos. You're always giving me food for thought. And also, like I said, it was just a series of events that led me to the trans community on YouTube and to the gender variant community on YouTube, and allowed me to see what was possible and what was out there and what was, where I could be one day if I tried, or if I stopped being angry long enough to see the forest through the trees. Hope you have a good night. Thanks again.